Hey, Instagram, how are you guys? Sorry about that. For those of you who were keyed in on what was happening on the feed there, and we lost you, I apologize for that. So we're gonna do another quick drawing. I'm not gonna do the full body of Groot if you're following along on YouTube. So we're just gonna do kind of the the head and the torso. And hopefully it's a little simpler, you know, make these shapes a little bigger, and you can follow along a little closer. So if you've already done the full body version, great, can't wait to see them. If you want to just do the head here, the simpler version on Instagram, that's totally cool too. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So much like we did with our full body Groot and our Spider-Man, we're just going to start with a simple circle. As you guys know, it gets a lot more complicated from there. Just kidding. Okay, so just kind of a simple circle shape. Does not have to be perfect. Okay, and we're going to do the same basic head position that we did on the other feed, so you guys can you can follow along, okay? So we're going to find that center line, which again, you know, like we said before, so his head is going to be tilted just slightly so it's kind of like that. There's our little guy. So we're going to doing Groot. And now his chin. I guess he's kind of more like Spider-Man in that way. Like he's got a bit of a thinner chin. Not quite as long. Okay. And then we're going to find that eye line. So that eye line is almost in the center. I guess on Groot it's a little lower than usual. Okay. You guys with me there? I'm going to give him a little bit of a neck, not too much, just enough that you can see his head's tilted. So there's our Groot. Okay. Now remember what I said before. Now to create that top ridge of his head, like I said, it's almost like he's wearing a hat, kind of like an Egyptian-looking hat. Is how I draw him. Or for you old school fans will know that this is kind of resembling Captain America's original shield. And again, this is just for my underdrawing. I don't know if it's been exactly the same way twice whenever I've done this, but I just kind of feel what feels right. Okay? All right, now I'm going to do those big eyes. So I'm going to use that center line as my guide. Do these big circles to draw those big brown eyes that Groot has. Very cool. Okay. Now the mouth line is about halfway between this center point and the end of his chin. So it's probably a little lower than half, right about there. Okay, and then that ridge of his eyes is about there, giving him a nice, fun expression. You guys doing okay? Everyone following along? And we're not going to, like I said, we're not going to do the full body here, but I am going to just show the top of that pupil that sits in the middle. And don't worry, we'll go in with the dark pencil and make those look better. He looks a little crazy right now. Kind of looks like C-3PO. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our other pencils. Remember the other pencils we're using. So that was the Color Erase blue pencil I used for my underdrawing. And now we're going to use our HB, okay, pencil to do some of these details. So I don't know why. I love starting with the eyes. I feel like once I do the eyes, I feel like I really get a good sense of who that character is. That's really my favorite place. Drawing faces and heads has always been my favorite thing to do. You know, many of you reached out to me asking me like where I went to school or where I studied. I actually am a graduate of California State University Fullerton here in California, and I studied illustration there. I studied animation for a little bit. Let's do this mouth. Studied animation for a little bit, but discovered my real passion was for drawing comics and doing concept design. And so I did concept design for about 10 years with Walt Disney Imagineering. So I helped design attractions for the Disney parks all over the world. And you're probably going to wonder what my favorite attraction is, and I'm going to tell you right now. My favorite attraction is the Iron Man experience in Hong Kong. That was our first Marvel-themed attraction in a Disney theme park, and so Iron Man experience will always hold a very special place in my heart. So for any of you watching from Hong Kong, you have my heart. But I have many other favorites. Of course, I loved working on Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, and now I'm going to come out these darker lines and make those eyes look not quite as crazy. Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. We did Ant-Man and the Wasp Nano Battle. Excuse me. Also in Hong Kong. As I'm sure you're aware, there's lots of other fun stuff in the works. Avengers And then these are kind of the viney bits of his neck. So I've actually done, you know, a little bit of bark there on the top of his chest. So I'm going to just go ahead and darken these in. Let me bring a little bit of that heavier lead in there. Okay. I'm going to use the same heavier lead on his eyes. And I wish I could read and respond to all of your comments right now. I apologize that I can't do that while I'm doing this. But I hope you're being nice. Just kidding. Of course you are. You guys are Marvel fans. You're the best. Okay, so now we're gonna do that texture on his head. So some of those, that stripy texture, when it's underneath the ridge of his eyebrow, or lack of an eyebrow, but kind of underneath there, it angles in towards his eye, kind of like that. They look a little bit like eyelashes when you're doing it like this. But then you're going to carry that same stripy bark texture down his face. Now I know there's a lot of love out there for one baby Yoda, so I've heard. But when it comes to cuteness, my money goes to this guy. Goes to baby. This little guy goes to Groot. Okay? And just keep that going across. And try and follow the contours of his face. You can put little dots in there from time to time, add a little bit of extra texture. In fact, that's one of the things, you know, you really can't see in the full body shot. But, you know, Groot actually has some fungus texture up along the ridge of his head. So you can come in and do some of these just kind of squiggles and dots. There's actually a technique called stipple, which is essentially a series of dots. I learned all about doing that in college, and it takes forever. But it's effective when you're doing things like texture. It was one of my least favorite assignments to do, to be perfectly honest. But look at that. Already looks like he's got a little bit of fungus going across the top of his head. Okay. Bring that crevice down a little bit right there.